you all for joining us today. I'm honored to moderate this amazing conversation today, and I call it my coffee with my girlfriend, but you guys get to just watch, okay? So thank you for joining my morning coffee with my wonderful friend and comrade, Martu Freeman Parker. She has 20, yes, a big round of applause. So we're letting you in on our top secret girl chat this morning, where we break down, we're going to talk about her 25 years of amazing experience in the fashion industry, the retail industry, community development, not just here in Miami, in New York, in New Jersey, and in various cities all in between. If you know Martu, you know she's worked for multiple organizations here in Miami and has built them from the ground up. And now she is the founder and executive director of the Fashion Alliance Network. She's also one of the co-creators and one of the brainchildren of the Miami Business Council from day one. She was at the table with one of the problem children of the trio of this organization today. So we're going to get started. Welcome, Martu.
Thank you.
Please join me for coffee with the council.
Yes.
Would you like me to take your book?
Sure.
So it's called Get the Hell Out, but we want you to get the hell in because we want you to be in the room, okay?
So that is a whole, we can start there if you want.
You want to start there?
Let's
So
start
tell me about the title.
So if you look, this took me about, I'll say 6 months to get the illustration right. Mm-hmm. So when I left the fashion industry in New York, this is how I felt. I felt like I was empowered. I walked out. The outfit was popping, the hair was popping. You know, the clock on the walls when I used to come in 7:45, and I would leave the same time, so I did 8-hour shifts. But when I left out, I was in tears. I was bawling my eyes out. I was like I was having like the top of the level panic attack, and I decided, this is it. I'm done. I'm getting the hell out of here. Like I'm getting out. And I would say that all through the day. I can't wait to get the hell out. I can't wait to get the hell out. So the minute I did, I didn't tell anyone. I was acting like I was going to work every day. And I lived in Queens, so I would go to Long Island at a IHOP, order pancakes, because I love pancakes, and I would just write. And I didn't know what I was writing, but I was trying to get out my feelings. Okay. And I wanted to figure out how did I get to the point where I was having major panic attacks. I was so unhappy. I was in physical pain because I was so unhappy. And it was all due to my job. So I was like, I need to dissect this. Like, what is happening? So I just wrote everything down. And I started back from my childhood all the way to that moment. And I was like, okay, I made the right decision. This is it.
So what do you have in your hand here? Is it like all your notes?
It's my folder, my computer, my fly coat, the bag. I was like, I'm done. But like I tell you, I was bawling. But in my mind, that's how I felt. I felt so like I made the right decision. Yeah. And I wanted that picture to show that. Like, and it could be anyone. You don't see my face. Yeah. It's anyone walking out the door and you're confident and you're proud and you're well dressed. Yeah.
With that stiletto out the door.
Stiletto. Red stilettos, by the way.
Well, I think we probably can all empathize with a moment like that in our careers. I mean, you hear all of these amazing bios of folks that we brought to the stage here and in other forums we may have all been to, and you always hear about the wins that people have in their careers. You don't always hear about these stories and these moments. I mean, for those of us that have worked in corporate and otherwise, you don't always hear about the moments that are maybe a tipping point for us. Yeah. So we talk about the book. Yeah. Tell me about moments for you that have brought you to, we talked 25 years. As you were building your career, what brought you closer to continue to commit to the fashion industry? You left this part of it. Yeah. What was the next step for you?
I knew I could do better, and I had so many ideas, and I was never afraid to share. Like I would talk to my boss, I would talk to people in charge or supervisors, and they would all say, "Oh, that's great, Martu, but we can't." And why am I here? You know, like, why am I here? And it just got to the point where it was like, I know I can do this myself. Like, I'm already doing it. I started my own company, MEF Productions, in 1999. I went to the fashion industry, moved from Virginia, Philadelphia to New York in September 1997. And in 1999, I started my own business. I called it MEF Productions because I was working in the production of all these big companies as a freelancer and a temp. And every designer had their own collection. Every designer was working on something. And I love fabrics. I love sourcing. I love trims. So I would talk to these designers and I would be like, what are you working on? You know, I'm this like intern or I'm this like freelance. I'm like, what are you working on? And they all had a project. And I was like, do you need help? You know, do you need help? Would you like me to source for you? Would you like me to help you with fabrics or whatever? And they would all say yes. So I wasn't making like a lot of money, but I was getting connected to a lot of different people and I was making friends for life. But I was able to help. Something that I wasn't really able to do in my job. Like I was doing a task, I was doing this, but I was helping people and I believed in them. Like I believed in their product, I believed in their mission or whatever they wanted to do. And that's how MEF Production started, 1999, and I've never stopped.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so.
It sounds like you started living in your purpose very early.
Yeah, and I saw it. I saw how, you know, designers would get stuck in a job. They'll get stuck at a major brand and they never live out their own dreams, you know? And the dream is to work in a big company, you know, whatever, Gucci, whoever, but they never get to live out their dream to be a designer. So when I would talk to them and you would see it, you could just see how important their collection, even if they had 2 hours a day, they would go home and they would work on it and they would call me and be like, Martu, can you help me with some trims? Like, I can't go to the garment district to get buttons, but this is what I need. Sending me, you know, at the time it wasn't even pictures. It was like, I'll draw you something. And like, you know. So, but that's, you know, I just really believe in designers and I believe in the creative space and what corporate does to us. Never sat right with me. It just never sat right with me, so.
You're a recovering employee. Corporate employee. Sorry, we got a lot of corporate in here.
I have a long resume because, and you know, I don't say this in front of kids, but I always went into a job or a situation with an exit. Like I knew how I wanted to leave, right? Like I never wanted to stay where I was, like I didn't fit in or it didn't work. So when I got to the point where I was at, get the hell out, I overstayed. At the time, New York was, you could get a job in production, you can get a job in sourcing. It was easy. You didn't have to like do all these resumes and all this craziness. You could call an agency and be like, listen, I want to be X, Y, and Z. And they'd be like, okay, send your resume. And you got, you know, you get a job or whatever. And it was just, I can't even tell you how many places I went and it would be like the perfect job, perfect title, and I knew I could only do this for maybe 18 months. I know, and I'm not going to torture myself. And I felt, and in the industry, in fashion, it's kind of frowned upon, but it's kind of normal. It's kind of normal. So I just picked that route. That was my route. It's like I don't want to be in a space where now it's just not fun, or I'm not learning, or I'm a part of the politics. Like I don't want that. And I would leave. And I was able to build my resume and build connections, build relationships where I would go to another company and they would be like, I would call, you know, like, who are you working with? And they'll be like, oh, so-and-so in India. And I'm like, I know them. And then, like, I knew everyone because I moved around in different companies. So I had all these different connections. So that was a plus for me because I worked in production and I worked at all these different level of companies. People wanted me because I knew all of the different, you know, factories and manufacturers all over the world.
Thank you for sharing that. Two things that stand out for me from what you shared are one, your passion for working with independent labels and helping the creatives stay creative. And then the other part is all the connections and the relationships you built over the years and how they've maybe come full circle for you. So I would love to maybe unpack a little bit of that if you want to share some of that with our friends.
One example of how everything came full circle for me was when I decided to leave Urban Outfitters. I was working at Urban Outfitters for 4 years. I was the design coordinator, which means I did pre-production for all of the men's team, wovens, knits, denim, outerwear. Everyone, 4 designers, 2 assistants, and I managed that whole team. And I worked with companies all over the world. And I remember hitting that point where, gotta go. Because it was like, what am I doing? Like, there was no other position that was the highest position to be in like pre-production space. So I started interviewing. And I decided that I was going to start interviewing. And I remember talking to someone who was kind of a mentor to me. He said, Martu, you're in a place in your career where you don't have to interview. He said, make a list of 4 people that know you and that can make a recommendation. And I never got that type of advice before. And I was like, okay. So I had made a list of 3 people. And I was like, I know this person is in this position and they know me. So they can vouch for me. I got 2 interviews and I got 2 job offers.
Wow.
And that was like, that's the power of community. That's the power of connecting with people. And I was 33 years old, but I put that much work in. And this gentleman was older, and he said that to me in a way like, you don't know that yet? Like, you shouldn't be interviewing at this point. You need to call people that you know. You know, you have a community. And that stuck. Like, that made a big difference in my life, because I didn't know it could be that easy. And a lot of us in this room, we don't know that it's that easy. We have all these great relationships, but the minute things go wrong, we act like we're by ourselves, and we don't tap into our resources. And he was so sure that that was the right answer, like that was the right thing to do. And I listened. I was like, wow, wow.
You had no idea.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea the power of my community. Yeah.
And really the power of yourself is really tapping into, like, you own that. You just have to look at yourself, right?
It's a great exit.
I'm like, oh, what's my community doing? Let me make my list, okay? I'm so inspired. I can probably speak for everybody here. So I'd love to shift gears a little bit. Thank you for sharing all of that. Let's talk about Miami a little bit more.
Nice.
You know, you're so deep-rooted in Miami. I know your family's here. First of all, badass mama right here. I always say our favorite job is being, family people, moms.
Yeah.
And so do you want to talk a little bit about your relationship with Miami, how business is for you in Miami, and your relationship with the DDA? You have a wonderful relationship with the city. Share with us what you're comfortable sharing, and then I'd love to unpack maybe some opportunities you are aware of for small businesses, and maybe some things maybe we're not aware of that could be afforded to some people in the room.
So my relationship with Miami started in 1999. I came here for Urban Fashion Week, which was by Russell Simmons. And a lot of people, I don't know if I hear it, wow. Yeah, so in the fashion industry in New York, and the first Miami Fashion Week or Urban Fashion Week was here. Everyone that was in the urban world came down. I worked at J. Crew, I wasn't, but I followed my friends. And I came down and I fell in love with Miami. I didn't really see too much but the beach, but I was like, oh, this is a great place. And my sister, like 3-4 years later, moved here with her husband. And so I was coming down a lot, and I just fell in love with this space. But I said, it's not okay now. Like, I need to have a family. It needs to make sense. Like, I wouldn't just move down here and just be here. And there's not really that much fashion here. I did my research. There was tons. In the 90s and early 2000s, when I worked at Urban Outfitters, most of our knits and sweaters were here. There were factories here. At the Gap, the office for the South American market was at the port. So I used to speak to this young lady, Gabriella, the whole, 4 days a week about products going to South America. So I knew that there was a fashion industry here. So it just needed to make sense. So when I moved here, it didn't make sense. It did not make sense. Miami is different. It's very different. There's a fashion community, but there's not a fashion community. And I say this with everything, and please do not get offended. What I did not understand about Miami, I had to figure out that Miami is very cultural based. We're a melting pot. We're not a melting pot. We're a place with a bunch of beautiful cultures that stick together. So in New York, fashion is everyone. When you go to Manhattan, it's everyone. Your seamstress might be from Russia, this person's from Argentina, this person's from Ghana. Like, it's just people. People are just surviving and they're working in the fashion industry. Here in Miami, I'm from Cuba. This is Cuban. I am from this place. This is this. So you never get to see the full circle or the full community because it's very separated by culture. And I didn't understand that. So I came here from New York like, hey, I'm walking into factories in Hialeah like, hey, and no one would speak to me because no one spoke English. And I'm like, so I took a project because I had clients, and I'm like, I'm in Miami now, so I'm going to find swimwear. I'm going to find all these resources. I'm going in online or checking around and asking people, and they're like, oh, go to Hialeah. You can just knock on any door. I'm knocking on doors. People are not speaking. People will not talk to me. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? This is fashion. This is a factory. Like, I can't just come in and ask for your service. And it was like, well, you don't speak Spanish. And I'm like, but I have money and I have clients. Like, why is that a problem? But that is Miami. And like I said, I don't want to offend anyone, but if you're coming from any other place in the country, that is not normal.
Yeah.
It's just not normal that you cannot just walk in certain places and just be who you are and offer them business. It's just not normal. I remember the first time I went to Hialeah by myself to look for a factory. I was going with a gentleman from Puerto Rico who I was helping him with activewear. And the one time he said, Martu, can you go to the factory by yourself? No problem. Went in there. I said, let me stop at McDonald's and get a coffee or something. I had to get out the car and go into McDonald's because no one would talk to me through that. I'm like, hello. Okay, I'm gonna get this coffee. I'm going in. And I'm like, what the hell? So that's what stops people. Like, people come from other places and they get stopped right there. That if they don't fit into the Latin community or the Caribbean community, where do you fit in?
Okay.
Especially if you're in Miami. And that's where I think a lot of the fashion industry gets lost because it's very based around your culture. And it's not that melting pot that we yell and scream about and say, oh, Miami's a melting pot. That's not true. And it's not a bad thing, it's just how it is, but we can change it. And I'm the person that I'm trying to change it. I step into every room. I don't care. Like, I'm going to be here. And I'm always that one you know me.
Martu for mayor.
But especially when it comes to fashion, it's like it shouldn't be this way, It shouldn't. And I'm not faulting anyone. It's just the way it is. And we can change that by going into these rooms, talking to people. When I've had one of my first events, I used to do Fashion Talks Miami, which was like a meeting. We would do it every month, like a meetup. I started inviting the factory owners to the talks. Now, you have people in Hialeah that have never been downtown, ever. And if they have, they've never been in a business type environment. So a panel discussion was like far reach for them. They're like, what am I, like, I can't. You can. I remember inviting some of the factory owners to Swim Week. These people make swimwear, been making swimwear for 20, 30 years and never been to a fashion show.
Oh, I believe that.
Never been to a fashion show. None of these designers have ever said, by the way, come to the fashion show. No. So I remember inviting like a couple of them, a pattern maker. I was like, just come with me. Yeah. And they were like, Martu, I didn't know. I had no idea. This is beautiful. This is amazing. Yeah. And it was just like making those connections,
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I think we all have had similar experiences in Miami to some degree. I mean, we're all still here, so we still love it. So
we love it, and it's not a bad thing. It's just how it is, and we can change it. I would say we can change it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to bridge the gap because we have a few more minutes left, and I want to get a couple of questions from our beautiful audience. I want to circle back to the DDA, the Downtown Development Authority, which you are on. You're still on the board.
Yeah, I'm on the board.
Correct.
I have
and you have a wonderful growing friendship with our new mayor, Eileen Higgins, who is a friend of the organization as well.
Yeah.
And so we are excited to learn a little bit more about the DDA, some programming. I know they've had an ongoing program for retailers downtown, local brands.
Absolutely.
So, a couple minutes to talk about
so I live in Fort Lauderdale, but I've been downtown since 2016.
Yeah.
I started my business here in Wynwood, and it didn't work for me in Wynwood. So someone said, maybe you should look downtown. I was on First Street, loved it. I commute. I've been commuting since 2016 downtown because I love Miami and I love downtown. I just love the energy. It makes me feel like I'm doing something. It's active. People are moving. Things are happening. Where I live, nothing's happening. So it just makes sense. And I get to leave and I get to be in the city. But the downtown DDA, I moved down here in 2016, but in 2017, the lady that I rented the space from, she said, Martu, you have all these opinions. You have all, like we would talk about everything, the street, the sidewalk. She said, you should go to a meeting. Just go to the meeting.
Yeah.
And I remember going to the meeting, and I was like, I love this.
Yeah.
Like, these people actually care about the residents and the business owners and the quality of life and the homelessness. Like, they take care of people.
Yeah.
So I became, I would go to all the meetings. I would always go to the meetings. I would support any of their workshops or anything they were doing, and they started to support me.
Yeah.
So when I would have workshops and things like that, they would, sure, we'll come, we'll support you. So I was invited to be on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And the DDA is it's called the Downtown Development, and it's not a part of the government, but it's partnership with the government, with the city of Miami and the county of Miami, to really focus on Brickell, Edgewater, and downtown.
Yeah.
So the quality of life, the streets getting power washed every couple of days, trash being picked up, extra trash being picked up, safety around, the Bayfront area with the homelessness, taking care of the homelessness, really just pour into that community that has been kind of left in the dust. Brickell's definitely thriving, but downtown is our history. It's the history of Miami. Everything started on Flagler, and it's kind of just gone, and that's a whole nother story. But the goal is to just uplift those residents in those areas and the businesses, because they are suffering.
Yeah.
So.
Perfect. Well, thank you for sharing. So I want to open up a couple questions with our audience. We have a few big businesses in the room. We have a couple small businesses in the room. Does anybody have any questions for Martu?
Not questionable.
Yes? Okay, so do you mind, April, if I give you?
Yeah.
Thank you, I love it. Okay. And if you can tell us your name and the company you're with.
Rachel, company Self, independent consultant.
Okay.
Martu, thank you for sharing your story. That was really interesting. If you had one do-over in life, in your professional world, what would it be and why?
Great question.
A little small backstory. The reason why I was able to move around in the fashion industry is, and I realized when I did some counseling, that I was never told no. When I decided that I wanted to be in the fashion industry, both my parents are West African. I was brought up in an African family. There is no fashion. There is no talk of fashion. I spoke of fashion. No one said no. Growing up in high school, everyone knew I was going to school for fashion. No one said no. So when I moved to New York and decided to go into fashion, no one said no to me. Like, the people that were around me never said no. And so I didn't understand that. Like, I could do anything. That's why I was like moving and shaking. I'm supposed to be here. But then when I got there, and then I started listening, and I started hearing no's, and I started hearing all the chatter, and it started to matter. That's when I had to get out. And I regret listening to the chatter. I regret it so much, especially when I was at my peak, because that's when it was the loudest. And it wasn't because people cared about me, it's because they didn't like how I was moving and how I was progressing and all the things that I was doing. And I let it get to me when I was 15 and 16 years old and everyone was saying, I'm going to school to be this, I'm going to be I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to be, but I'm pretty sure I'll be in the fashion industry. Like, my mom was like, oh, she's going to be a model. I'm like, I'm not going to be a model. I'm going to be something. It was design. I didn't know. I just knew it would be in fashion, and I've never worked in any industry ever. It's always been all through high school, fabric stores or TJ Maxx, and then out in college, fabric stores, or retail, and then straight into the fashion industry. So for me, is listening to the no's. When it didn't bother me like half my life, and then I get to this point in my life where I start listening to these no's. So I don't listen to no's. Like I'm out. I don't deal with the no's. I'm the only one that can say no. I'm the only one that can say it's enough. I am the only one. I own that. So there's no regret for me because I'm the one that's putting myself in that position.
Absolutely. Great question.
Yeah.
Love that.
Hello, my name is Thomas Mitchell. I am a fashion consultant, but I come from a background of designer, Tommy Hilfiger, Karl Lagerfeld, global marketing communications. So my question is, given the scope and the mission of this organization and the fashion landscape, what do you think are some things that you can do as a group to bring the fashion business, using the business side and the art side and the whole collective forward into the future?
I think joining organizations like this, being a part of organizations like this, connecting with people, inviting people to what you're doing so they can be a part of it, builds community, builds trust, builds relationships and opportunities. There's no way I could have done all the things that I've done without community. So this is so important that you take the time and you network with people, and not passe like Miami can be, like you meet someone and you get their email and then you walk away, but like really about, connecting and seeing if it's not for you or, you personally, maybe it's for someone else. Yeah. Like, and I always tell people, if you take that card, like maybe it's not for you, but maybe it's for someone else that you know. So be intentional when you're in these spaces because this is how we build community. This is how New York was built. This was how LA, when I went to New York, LA during the pandemic, I was blown away. That was a community. Yeah. That was a community. Yeah. I went there for sourcing because everywhere else was closed, but LA was open. And that LA bid made sure that the companies that were open, they were getting businesses. They pushed them and I was like, you know what? I'm going to LA. like I had to go and I went there and there wasn't that many stores open, but the community supported them. Yeah. And that's what we need here. We need a community that will support any type of business, whether it's retail, if it's, a designer or a design business or a creative business, we all need to support each other. And that's what Miami is really missing, somewhere where we can really support each other.
Awesome. Thank you.
I thought you were going to say have a Met Gala. I thought you were going to say that.
Listen, he's going to the Met Gala thing, so that's why he's saying that.
Well, we're working on a business summit, so that'll be our pseudo gala.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Yeah. One more and then I'll.
Hi Martu, my name is Sarah with Lucia's Buns. I'm building a food brand, but I used to be a fashion designer in New York, so I definitely relate to your struggles. Yeah. How are you helping brands today? I would love to hear more about that.
So with Fashionalize Network, our organization, we do a lot of panel discussions. We create safe spaces. I call them safe spaces for designers to show, to collaborate, and to work together. But I'm just out and about. Like I don't say no to anything. I try to be around and support people. But our educational component, like our panel discussion, are where we really bring our community together. So unfortunately, most of the events have been in New York and the New Jersey area, and we're going to filter them down to the Miami area. But we just try to give people the most information that they can make their own decisions and smart decisions. So we do something called the Day of Fashion in New Jersey, Jersey City, where we just bring designers together and we just love on them. Like we just show their community that they're there. You have people that are in their homes that design, they're online, and no one in their family, no one in their community knows that they're there. So we give them an opportunity to be seen. And it's not a place for them to sell, but it's just to be seen. And that's so important to designers. Like just being seen, just so your community can support you. So we plan on doing something like that here in Miami, where we're going to call it a Day of Fashion in Miami, and we're going to highlight some of the designers here, but like really highlight the superstars. We have superstars here. Like we have really legit people that are moving and shaking, and you would never know. So I want to just share light to them, and then encourage other designers to share in your community, so your community can support you.
Absolutely. Yeah. One more question, yes.
Hi, as a garment manufacturer myself, we produce we do mass productions for basically the Walmarts and TJs and Inditex of the world. So I want to ask you, from your experience on the design and production side, where do you see the biggest disconnect between what brands design and what actually scales help manufacturers proactively bridge that gap rather than just executing?
I didn't hear all of that. But I'm going to say that the manufacturing game has changed. So please do not go in there before pandemic with your pandemic attitude. Before pandemic, please don't do it. Everything has changed. Be mindful, do your research. But you have to really, I say if you're not in the fashion industry and you want to get into the fashion industry, work with a consultant. Work with someone that knows the industry. What has happened with manufacturing now, they have dumbed it down to the point where it's not even manufacturing anymore. It's literally copy and paste, and you can put your logo on there. And that's not fashion, and that's not design. And I don't support that. I want to work with a designer or a manufacturer that will really work with the designer, really tell them, show them what they're supposed to be doing, work on quality control, work on sourcing. That's what makes a brand, if you know all these things. So like really do your research. Manufacturing in Miami is very different after, ICE. I've lost like really, really dear people to me, like really, really close. And then the pandemic kind of wiped a lot of people out. But there's places popping up like Atlanta, Texas, where there are like really great small production houses and manufacturing houses that will do from A to Z for you. So the way you find these places, you found out about these places is going to trade shows. Go to your Magic, go to your fabric shows, get the right information, do your research. Don't just jump on anything that's online and copy and paste. That's not fashion, and I do not promote that. I will not promote that. If, like I tell people, if you want to create a t-shirt line, I'm not your girl. I'm not your girl, because my church, the women's group, every year, killer, they kill the t-shirts, and nobody calls themselves a designer.
Yeah.
Yeah? So I'm not going to give you that title.
Yeah. Thank you all so much. Great questions. Thank you, Martu, so much for your day. Amazing gems.